I remember my first big trip internationally. So, never gone international, never been anywhere outside the U.S. except for Cancun, which I don't know if that really counts because it feels like Americanized with all the spring break partying I was doing. Um, but this is my third sabbatical, and for you, those of you who don't know what a sabbatical is, my company gives me a month off every 5 years. So I had promised myself 4 years prior to that if I got another sabbatical, that I would go overseas. And so that's what I did for my third sabbatical. So I planned this overseas trip, and first I was looking at all these cities that you read about that people say they want to go to, and it was all European cities: Edinburgh, Copenhagen, Brussels, all of that stuff. And that's kind of what I planned. And then all of a sudden, I had to take a step back, and I was like, that's just what sounds good, but that's not really maybe where I want to go. So then I just backed up and decided to do Europe and Asia because I had a friend tell me that I should look at both. So anyway, I narrowed the trip down, and I got about 11 countries. 11 countries, 14, 15 cities, something like that. And on my list was Turkey. And I just heard a lot about it, and I thought it was cool. It's like the closest I felt like I could get to the Middle East, and feel, comfortable, but get a kind of taste of it. So I started to pick, China, Japan, Hong Kong. Then I went to Europe and picked a bunch of cities there that all had different cultures, and I thought Turkey was different. So here I go. So I get ready to take my trip, and um, maybe the week I was going to take my trip, or 2 weeks before, there was maybe some type of bombing or something in Turkey. So it got me nervous. So I started reading, and they've had like a couple of those that year. And keep in mind, this is back in 2016, 2015, or 2016. That's what it was. So you hear all that, coming from the U.S., it just makes me nervous. You just hear it. Anybody would get nervous. So, and coming up towards my day, that happened. But it really wasn't about the tourists. So it's just maybe a local attack, from local groups that was a concern with, or something like that. So anyway, so I'm like, all right, I'll keep it on there. And then I think maybe a week later or something, there was what you would call like a bombing of the airport. So now I'm like, oh man, no way, no way am I gonna go do that at all, right? Because I'm not used to any of that, and that's like two strikes. And then one more strike came, and that was, while I was on my way going on the trip before I get to Turkey, there was like a big uprising there, with the some citizens and all of that. Um, and I think that was maybe a week before I was getting there. So anyway, so I'm a little nervous, like anybody else would be. So I called a friend, and that friend knows who they are, and they have family there. Um, their family, I think, mostly lives in Germany, but they're from Turkey. And this is what they said to me, word for word, or almost word for word. They talk to their parents, and they're like, "Hey," and their parents are in Turkey. They're like, "Hey, um, I'm worried about you. Um, how are you guys doing there with all the bombing stuff going on?" And they're like, "Oh, we're good. Everything's fine. There's just a little bit of that going on, but we're worried about you." Now, my friend lives in the U.S. right now, and friend's like, "What? Why are you worried about me?" And they're like, "Well, we heard about all those shootings over there, like California, and there's a couple other places that just recently happened. So we're worried about you. So we're concerned." And so then when she told me that story, I just went, oh, it's really like the same everywhere. Now, maybe a bombing and shootings, not apples to oranges, but I don't know that many people that got hurt in the blast or whatever. And then it just made me realize this stuff happens everywhere. You can have it in the U.S. or any other country. We're no different. So it kind of made me laugh about that story. So long story short, after being told that story, I felt a little bit better, and I ended up going on my trip to Turkey, and it was one of the best trips that um, I had on my whole travels. There was a lot of amazing sights and things that I saw that I'll talk about even more. But here I am, just ready to write it off, and you have people inside the country concerned about what's going on here in the U.S. when we think the same thing doesn't happen. When if you have somebody doing a shooting or terrorist attack, it's pretty much the same thing. So it was just a big lesson that I learned. That you're just gonna have your different pockets where stuff's going on, but it's not like the same thing wasn't going on here. So I ended up enjoying that trip.